Action Comics 1074, Mark Waid writing with Clayton Henry on the art. So, Superman went to Krypton. It's kind of a weird week for this because Absolute Superman also being largely on Krypton, and Superman, interestingly, realizes, oh, be kind of hard to explain the whole House of L symbol on my chest. So he kind of like wraps his cape around him in a way to hide his symbol so that he's like a stranger in Krypton. And he's like, and this is actually something I don't think we really thought about when we read the last issue, is that his first concern more than anything is trying to figure out where in the timeline he is, because he's concerned, like, wait, am I close to the destruction? Because that's the problem if I am. And sure enough, there's tremors like very quickly, and he's like, oh shit, like Krypton's days are numbered and I'm here. Oh no.
Also, the way he covers up the S and turns his cape inside out, he's kind of never resembled Jesus more than wrapping that around him. So I'm just saying, it's a good look though. I'm not adverse to it.
Yeah, but I don't know. Superman's better than Jesus. There, I said it.
Oh boy, that might get me into trouble in this country in a couple of years.
Hey, at least Superman's fans all agree that he is fictional.
Pete, stop, please.
I'm just trying to get people out of trouble. Namely me.
Yeah, no kidding. Actually, I didn't say, just freedom of religion. Eat it. I'm not actually afraid. That was a bit. So, anyways, back to my Lord and Savior Superman.
Yes. Obviously Mon-El's stuck with Ether. There's not really much to say there other than just he's there with him. Our mini kind of like backup that's in the middle of the book with Connor and Keenan kind of progresses a little bit, where a bunch of angry aliens, the Coons, show up because they've also had some artifacts stolen, and because they're very vengeful, they want to like just kill everyone that's involved and leave no trace. And our two Superboys decide to try and intervene. It's basically just all set up for a punchline, because Connor's like, we could take a little platoon of the Coon, that's no big deal. And then the last page of this bit is like Keenan looking up, and there's like an entire armada in the sky. He's like, I'm never listening to you again.
Why do I listen to you? So I love because Keenan doesn't know, right? Keenan's not a intergalactic Superman character, right? He stays on Earth and in China and whatnot. So when he asks for the
he's
Coons,
also very new as well, so he's not had a chance to really do any of this,
to interact with all of them. But so when he asked, who are the Coons, and he's like, Mongol, right? You remember that guy? Think about like 3/4 Mongol, 1/4 doorknob. And I was like, that's a perfect description of the Coons. Essentially, they're space orcs. And so, them showing up to try to get their treasures back, but also take the other treasures with them.
I could have never remembered. Like, see, if you said describe the Coons, I'd be like, I have no idea. I know they pop up in space stuff every once in a while, and I recognize the name when it comes up because they always, pepper them in. But it's not like the Dominators. Like, if I see a Dominator, or if you said, what's a Dominator, I'd be like, oh, I can describe a Dominator.
Yeah. The big nasty teeth, big red circle on the forehead.
I think traditional alien head.
Yeah.
But with this circle and the big teeth.
But but like with the Coons, I definitely always think of space orcs,
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
But
but the bulk of the story is in Krypton, though. It's Superman, and basically he's like, well, first of all, there's a little bit of very on the nose commentary, where he talks about how the fact that he collapsed at the end of the previous scene after the tremor, he was rushed to a local medical facility where he was fixed up, given clothes, and all of it was free of charge. And I couldn't help but feel that Mark Waid was just putting in a little bit of writing about his own country during that. Of course.
Also, when you said local medical facility, I instantly thought wrestling.
Yeah, because that's what they always say. Yeah,
that's what they always say. But I was like, wait, you could say hospital, but Clark doesn't even say hospital, right?
Yeah, that's why I said it that way, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So... yeah, fair enough. Krypton's all out Scotland, apparently. Other than that, he wants to find out if there's a way if he can charge his solar bracelets, but the red sun here just isn't going to cut it. It's too weak and whatnot. So he's like, okay, well, there's tons of scientists in the city, but like there's only one that he knows the name of, really, cut to him at a big building that has a Superman logo on it, because it's clearly this is Jor-El's place.
This is my dream. I would love to paint this on my garage, but the HOA won't let me. So, you know.
So yeah, he meets his mother, who's holding a baby him, which tells us it is very soon to the end of Krypton, because he's not that much older when he gets in that rocket ship. But we also see that Jor-El's having a lot of trouble with the science committee, or whatever they're called. So he's livid that they're not letting him explore things, that they're being too stubborn about the dangers of the planet and what's happening to it. But he ultimately does speak to Superman and is like, "Oh, these bracelets you want to help me with, these are very fancy, they're very advanced. Oh, where did you get these?" So he's helping away. We see a little bit of his lab, and Superman kind of like thinks to himself that his dad's a lot more like Willy Wonka than he thought, because there's like so many weird inventions in here. He clearly experimented with a lot of stuff.
I love that, because we always get he's one of the brightest minds on Krypton. And then Clark's like, "Oh no, he's Willy Wonka, like brilliant mind, weird interests." You know? So,
yeah. I mean, I think where this is going, what the implication I got from this, because the end of this scene is obviously that Roseanne, the head of the council, or I don't know if he's the head of the council, but he's a prominent member of the council, bursts in with some troops and confiscates the Phantom Zone projector, as well as Superman's solar bracelets. I'm like, okay, I think we're going to exonerate Jor-El a little bit in this story, and we're going to find out that Jor-El didn't want to actually use the Phantom Zone for a prison. He wanted to use it to basically let all of Krypton evacuate into it when the planet was going to die. That was his first plan, and instead it's the council that took it and used it as an imprisoning device. So that feels like
that also makes it seem like, there's all of these, like they call Clark in the Phantom Zone their jailer's son. But so I was always under the impression that the Phantom Zone stuff was used far before Clark was born. And this is clearly, it seems like it's leaning towards after. So, this
is making it seem like it's a pretty new thing, right? Like, this is something they only did in the last, like, maybe year or even few months of Krypton. Which is, it does feel like a bit of a change. I think that's fair. I'm off two minds of it, because on the one hand, I really like the idea that the Phantom Zone was Jor-El's like idea of like, oh, this is how we can save everyone. I've actually got this weird dimension that I can take everyone in Krypton and safely put them somewhere so we don't all die when the planet explodes. I actually think that's a really interesting little spin on that. I don't know if it's ever come up before, if this is Mark Waid has just thought of it, but either way, I do think it's a really cool idea. At the same time, though, I also feel like Clark dealing with the idea that Jor-El did something that he doesn't maybe like morally is an interesting thing. Jor-El was a good man, but he wasn't perfect, and he did something that he disagrees with. I think exonerating him from that always makes the story slightly less interesting in that aspect.
Yeah, because I kind of like the Oppenheimer vibe of here's this thing that he helped create that is no longer his once he turns it over. Right?
Yes, I have become death, destroyer of worlds.
and that kind of thing where he had the noblest of intentions of figuring this stuff out, right? Because he wanted to evacuate the planet. However, once the Science Council took it and started using it as a prison, that was out of his hands. So I could kind of see that, that try to make it work for both worlds. But yeah, the exoneration of that does make Jor-El that, not less interesting as a character.
Just more of the traditional goody two shoes that we always assumed he kind of was. Although I will say it also does paint an interesting picture, because the fact that all the criminals are saying, "Oh, Jor-El was our jailer," that says to me that the council, when they start using it as a prison device, like brand it as Jor-El invented this. This is Jor-El's doing.
Regards from the House of L. Zap.
Like Jor-El's name's been plastered all over it when he's like, no, that wasn't meant for that.
Out of my hands now, yo. I developed it. You misused it.
So I like that from like a sort of the political side of the Krypton lore being played with. So I think there's positives and negatives to where I feel like this is going, but it's well told. Obviously, the thing here is that at the end of the scene, the end of the comic even, Roseanne says, "Oh, arrest the L's and whoever this stranger is that's trying to keep these bracelets from me." So. Yeah, we'll see where that goes.
I wonder what kind of butterfly effect this is going to have, right? Because Jor-El and Lara being, imprisoned, before Krypton explodes. That seems to be new.
Yeah, I mean, I assume they're going to be out of there though before the end.
No, I know that, but still, it's just one of those things. If you think about it too much, it's kind of like the Back to the Future kind of thing. How come they don't remember Marty? But it's like, do you really remember that one guy that you met? For a week.
That's not a factor here, Matt, because they're going to be long dead before Superman.
Yes,
blows
no,
up.
I know that, but I just wonder what kind of butterfly effects that Clark being there is going to have down the way. But yeah,
I don't know.
I do like that he gives himself the Krypton name Clark Kent. So that was really
yeah,
funny.
that made me laugh actually, because he has to think of a secret identity in his narration as he puts it, and he sort of like just thinks on the spot and goes, "I'm Clark Kent," and I'm like, "You just took Clark Kent and made it sound Kryptonian. That's funny."
Yes, it is.
So yeah, that's fair.
Enjoyed that.
Yeah, and in the backup. With Supergirl, I am still very much enjoying it. I have no idea what's going on with this prisoner character, though. Me
neither. I was like, I'm enjoying it. The art is fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
I love the characterization of Kara. I have no idea what's going on at this point.
Art is great, right? Kara being like held captive after the prisoner's been kidnapped, and she's basically trying to use her different powers, and some of them are kind of backfiring. She tries to use her freeze breath on her hands to try and like break the whatever the restraints are, and it ends up spreading, and then she has to use her own heat vision to melt herself out of the ice. But then the robot who's looking for a purpose, the security bot, comes in and says, "Oh, I have found my purpose, I will help you." And she's like, "All right, get me out of this." So that stuff's all fun, and she goes looking for the prisoner, and we also see that the prisoner's been auctioned off on some sort of alien black market thing. But then when we get to the prisoner, this is where stuff gets really weird, is the prisoner is like, the narration is like talking to the prisoner and saying, I have found you again, yes. And then it seems like the prisoner finally speaks and says no to whatever's talking to him or her. I mean, it could be either, it's hard to tell. And just as Kara finds the cell, punches her way into it, we get what I can only describe as like a weird David Lynch moment, where the prisoner's like holding their hand up, and the narration says, "I have found you now, and I will have you again. Our work is not over." And Supergirl just says, "What the hell's happening?" And you get a close up of the prisoner's like helmet, like with the visor, and it looks like a hand in the helmet's like visuals are coming towards like its own face, or that's what's on the screen from the visor.
Yeah, is it a reflection? Is it coming through the visor? Like what is it? It's definitely unsettling.
I have no idea. But the final line in the narration is, "We will be one once more." So certainly it sounds like an entity was split, or two entities which have been entwined were split and want to reunite. Now, other than that, can I discern a single goddamn thing? No, I can't. It's weird. It's interesting though, and the art's gorgeous.
And I have enough faith in Tamaki that it'll come around, because we're getting these little chunks, and I'm sure once the picture starts to get more clear, we'll look back.
Yeah, and it's not frustrating though, because Supergirl is just as confused as we are. So it's not like the characters are acting like this is normal, there's nothing weird happening. Like, her only line of dialogue in the last page of this book is "what is happening," and that mirrors exactly how we feel. So you feel like you're with her on the journey. So yes. But weird backup.
DC and these little space robots, giving them the personality, I'm for it. Because first we had Punchbot.
Oh yes,
with Jason Aaron in Offworld, and now we have this helper bot that wants to help Kara. So loving that. But yeah, I know that last page with the image at the top where the prisoner's reaching up, and then we get the triangles, that cut down the middle with Kara there. I don't know how else to describe it. It makes like a rectangle, and then you get two of these triangles in that rectangle that make it up. The composition is fantastic.
Yeah. That was a weird way I got around explaining it, but yeah, it's good. All right, what are you giving Action Comics?
I'm going to give this an 8.5.
Yeah, I'm going to go with just a straight 8. Just because, it's kind of what I said last time, which is like, Clark's going to be in Krypton, and, it would be a big deal if they've only ever done it once, but they've not. So, But still, though, interesting things they're exploring for sure. I had a good time with this 12-issue arc.